Welcome to the Ron and Brian Election Night Special, with appearances by fear, loathing, regret, and an excessive amount of disbelief. And now your hosts for the evening, Ron and Brian.
Hello, Brian. More importantly, hello, America. Welcome to the Ron and Brian Special. Are you good there? Can you hear me?
Turn the bass up. Give me some snare.
Microphone.
Let the horns loop again. Oh, yeah.
There you go. There it is.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go now.
So I don't know about you, Brian, but it is election night in America, and we are all getting through this the only way I know how, with a stiff drink in hand.
Listen, it's time. It's that time.
Even though Kentucky let us down from both the presidential and senatorial race standpoint, I still went with their very own Maker's Mark whiskey tonight. So that will be my drink of choice. I see you're going with your trusted Jameson.
Swigged right out of the bottle. So if anybody does come over to my house in the next 14 days, I advise you, lay off the Jameson. It's got my Corona maybe the Corona antibodies are in my saliva, so therefore they would be on the exterior of this. I offer you salvation in the form of my Corona bottle. Just lick it. America, lick it. You'll be saved.
That'll be the trending hashtag later. Hashtag lick Brian's bottle. So let's take a quick look as to where we are at so far this evening. CNN currently has Biden 89 electoral votes, Trump 72 electoral votes, MSNBC with the same total. And then if we head over to Fox currently having Joe Biden in the lead with 129 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 109. It's been back and forth. I think that's the only way you can put it.
Much like my first wedding night.
Very much like that. If we look at some of these key battleground states, Texas, Joe Biden was ahead for a significant portion of the night. Donald Trump has pulled ahead there. Same thing with Georgia. Biden was leading early in Georgia. Donald Trump now comfortably ahead there in the battleground states of Ohio and Pennsylvania. We've got now Trump leading in both after Biden led early. Still a lot of votes left to be counted. Still a lot of mail-in votes left to be counted. Way too early, I think, for anything to be called. So
if I can interrupt and call the first thing today,
please do.
You look like a sharp motherfucker.
No, you look like a sharp motherfucker. We also have some of our listeners, including Gabby Ann, saying that we look sharp. And Gabby Ann, we have to agree with you. We broke out the jackets, the shirts, the ties for this very special occasion.
First off, I'm going to be using my Vote New York's pen that I had, and I will be much like George Stephanopoulos. I'll be using it when talking today to give the impression of having a stronger point than I am trying to make.
Listen, I think everyone who watches this podcast on a regular basis knows of your constant hand motions. Now you just have a pen. So changing it up a little bit. We like it. And New York already called for Biden with his 29 electoral votes. So thank you, state of New York.
You're welcome.
Pennsylvania, I'm hoping we can do the same. But Pennsylvania, again, tough to say how it's going to go because we don't know how many of those mail-in votes have been counted, as they could not start until 7 a.m. today.
Now, is it or is it not true, as somebody who lives in Pennsylvania, that you were able to place 2 votes this time around? You were able to fill out your mail-in absentee ballot, but then additionally, earlier today, you went you waited online at your local balloting station, gave the name Reginald Jackson, former resident of Oakland, California, recently moved to the Philadelphia suburbs, and you voted a second time. Is that true?
That would be incorrect. I mailed it in, got verification that it was received, and I stayed away from any polling place today.
There was actually across the street from me was a temporary polling station. It was closed by the time I got home from work, Listen, simply because it's a election day special does not mean that I'm not going to take the opportunity. Ron, you remember what it was like coming home from work, right?
Way back in the day, I do recall what that's like.
Woke up this morning, there was already a line. I counted, it was probably somewhere between 50 and 100 people by the time I left.
But thankfully, you had already dropped off your ballot, so you didn't have to put yourself in harm's way like many Americans did to go vote today.
Ron, before we get to the point of election, I think we should take an opportunity to discuss what does democracy mean to each of us.
This
I'll let you go first.
I would do poorly on. Democracy to me means equal rights for everybody, regardless of race, creed, color, or sexuality.
Wow.
You like that, huh?
Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
What is your democracy, Brian?
My definition of democracy is when each person has one vote in determining the type of government that we have.
So you are for abolishing the Electoral College?
Oh, I would have abolished it 200 years ago. And I think it's pretty much an accepted state that the whole point of the Electoral College was to eliminate the ability of the populace to vote somebody into power, into the White House, that the status quo, the power, the people that be, the man wanted.
Right. You know what else democracy is to me, Brian?
What?
It is the ability of listeners like Billy, as he posts in the comments, to use a Ron and Brian podcast shot glass for his binge drinking tonight.
So, I love it. I absolutely love it.
We haven't done a promo yet, but yes, please go to the Ron and Brian podcast.com website. We have our web store, and you can also sign up to become a patron and get a lot of free swag like our shot glasses. But we digress. So, Brian, some interesting firsts have happened tonight. I'm sure you have been keeping yourself on the pulse of the national races so much that you may have missed some of these things.
I've got right here the first sign of social discontent. Clashes outside the White House. BLM and Antifa, or as I like to call them, Antifa, already clashing with police outside the White House. Let's go.
Going to be a long night in America tonight. But going down to Delaware, congratulations going out to Sarah McBride winning her state Senate seat, and as such becoming the first trans state senator in U.S. history.
We like that. We like that.
In Virginia, props to the city of Manassas. They have, for the first time, elected a black woman to be their mayor, Mayor-elect Michelle Davis Younger, and
we like that. We like that.
Their first out gay city councilor, Tom Osina, who unseated incumbent Ian Lovejoy.
Well, Lovejoy, that's not a last name for politics.
And Georgia bringing us the first QAnon supporting Congress member as Marjorie Taylor Greene, as expected, winning her election to the House of Representatives.
So you're telling me that we now have a congresswoman who believes that there is a basement in Cosmo Pizzeria in Washington where they are trading the lives of children.
I mean, I don't know if she believes Pizzagate particularly, but she is a supporter of a number of the QAnon conspiracy theories. She surprisingly won her primary over some more established political people in Georgia. And now, thanks to being in a red district, will be traveling to the House of Representatives this January.
Does she get Secret Service protection?
I don't know how the House works, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know that you necessarily do. You probably get Capitol security, but I don't know you get the level of Secret Service if you're in the House. But
I'm not saying anything. I don't want anybody to misconstrue my question as implying that somebody should go down and...
Oh, boy, Brian, that's how we get taken off the air. Please don't
It's odd. It's odd. You can threaten an incoming congressperson, and YouTube will not take you down. You play 10 seconds of
Put them on the glass.
Put them on the glass. Put them on the glass
Sir
by
Mix-a-Lot.
Sir Mix-a-Lot. And YouTube will literally stomp you like an olive in the making oil.
They will shut your shit down. No question about it.
Terrible.
Let's go to Tennessee for a minute, Brian, so we can have a quick up-to-date on...
Let's not really go to Tennessee.
A friend of the podcast, Steve Holder. He was on our podcast, I think probably about a month, 5 weeks ago.
And he got the Ron and Brian bump,
He got
if I remember correctly.
Bump. He was running for the House of Representatives in Tennessee's 1st District. Unfortunately, not enough of a bump with 75% of the vote in. Steve is sitting in 3rd place with 2.8% of the vote, almost 6,500 votes. They have already declared the Republican as the winner. Again, a very heavily red district, coming in at 177,000 votes.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up.
We loved Steve. Steve was probably one of the more rational politicians that we have spoken with ever.
Well, he didn't school me on how hip India was. So,
but listen, I hope that I hope Steve sets an example for others to follow. Very brave, going as an independent in a especially in a red district. I think the quote, Steve's planting trees that he will never get to sit in the shade of, but hopefully people see what he's doing down there in Tennessee, and maybe that can change some minds and change some hearts, Brian.
What I love about you is that every now and then you prove to me that you are indeed an English major. When you pull out that reference to planting trees and sitting in the shade, I'm going to tell you something, sir. Kudos to you. That was beautiful. It warmed the cockles of my heart.
And it's a very cold heart that you have normally, so that's fairly impressive.
This is true.
Now, let's look at something I know near and dear to your heart, Brian. That, of course, is question 1 on the ballot in the Garden State of New Jersey. Legalize
euthanasia.
Marijuana. So much like Colorado did a couple of years back, the state of New Jersey also has that opportunity right now. So with 58% of the precincts reporting yes is up 67% to 33%. An easy 820,000 vote lead right now. So you have to imagine that will hold and marijuana will become legalized in the great state of New Jersey, right across the bridge from where you're at.
I was going to say, you call it a bridge, I will call it a tunnel. I work literally about 3 blocks away from a PATH station that will take me right to Jersey City. I predict a dispensary will open up there literally within days of the approvals from the Jersey legislature.
Now, I guess the question is, with the legalization of marijuana in New Jersey, could you, as a citizen of New York, cross the bridge and purchase marijuana in New Jersey?
Why would you, under any circumstances, imply that would not be the case?
I don't know how the law works. Like, is it restricted to just citizens of the state that would then be able to purchase marijuana legally? Like, I would get that, you definitely probably can't bring it back to your own state. But
right. Yeah, sure. That would be so bad.
I see an increase in the drug sniffing dogs in the PATH stations and Penn Station there.
If I have to, I will change my residence.
Really?
Yes,
I'm a New Jersey state resident.
I won't actually live in New Jersey, okay, but I will get a New Jersey driver's license showing that state.
A post office box or something along those lines.
Speaking of which, what if you get a driver's license in one state, does that automatically cancel out the driver's license that you have in another state?
Well, I believe you have to turn in your previous license to the state that you're getting a new license from.
How do they know that you have a license?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you could forge and say I don't currently have a license and just apply like you're getting a new license.
And just keep bouncing. What if you have residences in 2 states?
I mean, typically you still only get a license in one or the other.
Are we typical? Are we the kind of people that just follow what the trends are, what the masses do? We are not sheep. We are not used. Speaking of used, break some news to me. Give me an updated number. How are we looking?
I'm checking, and we literally have we have one change. I'm not sure which state turned, but I think Fox just gave South Carolina to Trump. So now Biden, 129 electoral votes to Trump's 108. Pennsylvania, numbers swinging more in Trump's favor. Same with Ohio.
But back up. Did you say Pennsylvania was swinging in Trump's favor?
At this point, Trump has 51.4% of the vote to Biden's 45.7%. Ohio is at 52% to 46.6%. Michigan
was that those numbers you just read for Ohio? Was that Trump Biden or Biden Trump?
That was Trump Biden. Trump is ahead by 5.5 points in Ohio. Michigan, Trump is up by 13%. Wisconsin, Trump up by 4.5%.
Red mirage. It's a red mirage, Ron.
We are seeing the red wave that we were told to expect on election night. So there are still a lot of votes, obviously, that will need to be counted. But I think this is probably the worst case scenario that people were thinking about, that we would have no real clear definitive answer as to who is leading or winning by the end of election night.
That's not the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario was that the red wave and the red mirage actually turned into red victories, and Donald Trump got a clear victory at the end of election night. That's the worst case scenario.
That's very true. That is very true. But obviously, Donald Trump will probably still declare victory by the end of tonight, but he can do whatever he damn well pleases.
That's the problem. For the past 4 years, he literally has done whatever he pleases. I've never lived in a time where there literally was somebody in political power who had no checks.
I can't even think about even before our lifetime. I can't think of anything where it's been so perverted, the rule of law.
Speaking of perverted, no, just kidding.
No, please. I'd like to hear what you're going to say.
No. I was going to bring up the Russian P tape.
Oh, okay. I think that was the last push he made, is he sent out an email to his supporters and said, "Listen, re-elect me, and I will send you a copy of the P tape."
Here's a question, Ron.
Yeah.
You wake up tomorrow morning. I'm guessing probably 9:30, 10 o'clock. You go downstairs. I imagine a robe, fluffy slippers. You open up your laptop. In your inbox is a file from MI5 attached to an email, and it says Trump P tape .mp4. Do you open it?
I mean, I think I forward it to you first because I know that's kind of your thing. And then I maybe I take a little peek.
Have you ever watched P-porn?
No, not my thing.
Okay.
Just not my thing. Again, I'm not against people that are into it, but not my thing. I feel like we've gotten off track a little bit.
Not at all. And for people that want to know what Ron's thing is, go back to our sign up for a Patreon if you're not already. Go back to episode, I believe it was 116, where Ron got drunk during the regular podcast and then spends the entire time talking about what his thing is.
So as I look at some of these states, even on MSNBC and CNN, not great numbers coming across for the Biden camp. I would imagine they have to be a little nervous.
What are we looking at?
Trump, I'm still looking at North Carolina, I'm looking at Virginia, I'm looking at Pennsylvania, Ohio, a lot of areas where, Biden was up early. Now Trump has taken the lead. Trump has, surprisingly, different from 2016, led in the popular vote for most of the evening, is about 2 million votes ahead in the popular vote right now.
But those, I cannot. Okay, I don't know that I'm going to be able to wrap my brain around 4 more years of this guy.
I don't know, especially given the current state of the economy and the American people, if we don't get this virus under control, I don't know how we move forward in 2021. I don't know how the economy recovers. I don't know how jobs recover. I don't know how literally people's health recovers.
Well, I mean, the vaccine is weeks away. We are rounding the turn. We've turned the corner. Turn the corner.
Yep.
Which will only be
go away very shortly.
Very shortly, it's going to go away, and the economy is going to rebound to the most wonderful, incredible economy we've ever had. Can anybody tell that this jacket is about 4 sizes too large on me? I wore this when I was about 25 pounds heavier.
Well, that's before you got the COVID-19.
Yeah, but I put all that weight back on.
Oh, you did. You put the COVID-19 back on. All right.
You know what? I did actually lose about 19 pounds.
I remember you saying that. That's why I made the joke. It was an actual joke, I feel.
We got Drudge Report coming in at Biden 131, Trump 98.
So we do have an update on MSNBC. They've got Biden at 94, Trump 72. CNN still holding at 89, 72, and Fox still at 129, 109. Democrats did pick up a seat in Congress with what's his name, John Hickenlooper, knocking off Cory Gardner.
Steve Holder checking in.
Holder checking in, Steve.
Holder, we were rooting for you today. We really were. We wanted you to have the Ron and Brian bump, and unfortunately, I feel like we failed you. We failed Steve Holder.
We were talking about Steve a little bit earlier. So Steve has joined us on the Facebook Live, and again, congratulations on sticking in the race. You're a good man. We wish more people had seen it, but we hope to hear more from you in the future. Hopefully you're enjoying a whiskey like the rest of us right now. No, you're not. You're probably enjoying a nice club soda, but kudos to you yet again.
That's for you, Steve.
For the rest of the country, as we can get our act together.
Yeah, you deserved a better America.
We all deserve a better America, and hopefully we'll get there. There's still a lot of votes left to be counted. What's really kind of bugging me right now is
Florida.
How did you know? How did you know that Florida is bugging me?
Because I thought that was a state Biden was going to take over. I did not take into account the amount of effort the amount of time Trump spent in that state. I neglected the very powerful voting bloc of the Cuban community, the expatriates down there, who have come out in force for El Trumpo.
Well, I think if you look at two things, one, Miami-Dade County, Biden performing significantly worse than Clinton did in 2016. And yes, it does appear like a lot of the Latino vote swung over to Trump. He had gotten, last I saw, about 100,000 more votes in Miami-Dade County than he had previously. But can we talk the voter suppression in the state of Florida?
Absolutely. I've not seen anything on the news.
So
educate me.
All right. So I don't know if you remember back in 2018, during the midterm elections, there was an amendment on the ballot, Amendment 4, because back until 2018, Florida was one of only 4 states that permanently banned people with felony convictions from voting.
Yes.
The citizens of the state of state of Florida voted 65%, so a pretty overwhelming majority, voted to pass Amendment 4, which would restore rights to former felons. So, of course, the Republicans, as they so often do, decided to ignore the voice of the people. The Republican-led legislature and governor then decided to overrule that by setting fees and fines in place for people to be able, for these felons to be able to vote again. Basically, creating poll taxes that were eliminated by the Jim Crow laws, but these apparently held muster. So apparently, initially, they thought about 1.4 million Floridians would have received their right to vote back. That number is probably closer to 300,000, thanks to the actions of the GOP in Florida. So you've got 1.1 million people not allowed to vote. And again, it is a very close election in Florida as of right now. Trump is ahead, but only by about 380,000. So you do the math. 1.1 million people disenfranchised, the majority of which, based on demographics, would probably, potentially vote Democrat. And yeah, Steve spitting some truth. Anyone who pays taxes deserves to be able to vote. That's damn straight. You pay the admission price, you should get to participate.
This is very true. True.
So that is what is bothering me with Florida.
What I find most ironic is that the Latin vote seems to be coming out for Trump, despite the fact that he hates Latins. It doesn't sit well with me.
There are so many questions from 2016 created a whole bunch of questions. 2020 is creating a whole other selection of questions as well. I don't know when we'll have answers to them. It is something that I think scholars will be analyzing for years to come.
Fuck. I'm sorry.
Are you upset?
The level of shock that I will have if Trump wins legitimately at the polls. I was emotionally prepared for him to lose at the polls, take it to take it to the courts where there are Republican judges that the Republican Senate and Trump have stacked. And we know that the Supreme Court is now 6-3 Republican. I was expecting him that if it got to the courts, that he would figure out a way to take it. I was not prepared for the possibility of Trump taking this at the polls.
Yes, it would be. I think it would be a shock for a lot of people, without a doubt. I'm just trying to.
Oh God, Nate Silver over at 538. He has now tripled Trump's chances of winning the presidency after the prediction that he will take Florida.
So let's see here. Other races we're watching in Alabama. Tommy Tuberville is now being declared the winner over Doug Jones. So Republicans pick up a Senate seat there. In Arizona, Captain Mark Kelly leads McSally by, it looks like, about 250,000 votes. So they haven't called that, but there's 74% of the vote in. So that would be a pickup right there. Obviously, we've already picked up a seat in Colorado with John Hickenlooper. Kentucky. Fucking Kentucky, man.
Fuck Kentucky.
Mitch McConnell, a man who literally has done nothing for 4 years. Actually,
that's not true. He's done a lot for Kentucky. However, and this is the part that people don't
he's
seem
done
to
more
grasp.
for his wife. His wife has made more money with him being in charge of the Senate than anyone in Kentucky has.
He is right now one of the richest senators, yet he's representing the poorest state in the union.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what we call, my friends, trickle-down economics.
Let's see here.
Give the money to Mitch and his wife, and it will trickle down to you.
Iowa early still, 19% of the vote in, but Greenfield ahead of Jody Ernst by about 80,000 votes early on, 60%, 37%. So looking good there. In Maine, kind of surprising early, 13%. Susan Collins is up on Sarah Gideon by about 19,000 votes.
Gideon, I think she would have done better if she had just started handing out Bibles.
Mississippi, again, not much of a surprise. Looking like they're on their way to put Hyde Smith over Mike Espy again. North Carolina, very tight race. Again, too close to call. 89% in. Tom Tillis, incumbent, has a very slight lead by about 60,000 votes over his Democratic challenger. South Carolina, this was a race a lot of people were watching, but with 48% of the vote in, Lindsey Graham, Lady G, up by about 170,000 votes over Jamie Harrison. Ran a great campaign, lots of out-of-state money.
Came close.
That South Carolina campaign. I think Jamie Harrison's got about 57 million raised for that. At the end of the day, the networks and anyone who sells advertising are going to be the real winners of this election season.
Of course. Absolutely. Also, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk
Really?
are also
Why
big winners.
Specifically.
Beg your pardon?
Why them specifically?
I just wanted to bash some billionaires. It's kind of my thing. I don't know whether you've picked up on it. I like to do it frequently. Ron, how's the Senate looking?
Not much of a change just yet, apart from what we just spoke about. We will keep an eye on that as election results keep coming in. The House right now has already been confirmed will stay in the hands of the Democrats. So that is at least one plus so far. I would like to, if we could take a minute, and if we can jump over and let me find the tweet here. I had it just a moment ago and then I lost it.
You didn't actually lose it. What you did was you found something else that was more important that grabbed your attention.
I think if we can, just for a moment, let's make fun of Clackamas County, Oregon, who tweeted a little over an hour ago this election update. A short while ago, our elections office experienced an equipment failure with our envelope opener. Technicians are gathering parts, and the machine is expected to be repaired overnight and ready for operation when ballot processors return 8:30 a.m. Wednesday morning. So
an envelope opener?
Apparently. I guess that is something that cannot be done manually.
Okay. Why are we still using such antiquated systems?
I don't know.
I can literally take my phone right now and be connected to 8 drivers in the area that will take me anywhere I want based on a rate which is using supply and demand. Literally. Yet we are using for something so important as voting, we are using the same systems we were using in the 1960s.
And you're saying that's a bad thing.
If my grandfather were alive today, Rabbi Schmeckel, if he was alive today and he saw what we were using to vote, he would be ashamed.
That's your statement for the night. I'm bold statement. I'm not going to lie.
Technically, it's not my statement. I'm just passing on what Rabbi Schmeckel, he was my grandfather, not to be confused with Father Thomas, who he used to give the sermons on Sundays when I was an altar boy.
So you had a grandfather that was a rabbi, but you also went to church services on Sunday and were an altar boy.
I don't want to go to hell. I was covering all my bases.
All right, that seems interesting, but fair, I suppose. So, Brian, what does the country do if there is a second Trump term?
Well, we do what we did the last 4 years: is we count the number of days down. You're going to be looking at a president who literally, I have to stop saying the word literally. Literally, I literally have to stop saying it. But he has been, since his first day in office, he has been preparing for today. His entire first term has been about positioning himself for re-election. Now that he does not have to worry about being elected again, I feel like he's going to go off the rails, and the allegations of criminality, the allegations of wrongdoing, of fraud, of emoluments.
Emolument?
Right word? What?
Emoluments?
Bless you. I think you are going to get the uncensored version of Trump.
So what you're saying is what we experienced in these first 4 years was A, not off the rails, and B,
No.
a somewhat censored version.
Yes. Yes. I think you will see a lot more promotion of the Trump brand. I think he will feel less hindered to promote his brand. I think there will be more commingling of the Trump company with the presidential administration.
And Steve brings up a good point. Number of people speaking about a civil war. I mean, you even up in your neck of the woods. I mean, Trump supporters shut down the Garden State Parkway this weekend. They shut down which bridge did they shut down? Brooklyn Bridge,
Mario Cuomo Bridge.
Mario
And I'm
Cuomo.
going to say this about that.
Okay.
That I put that in the same category as, and I'm going to take some heat on this, but we had a lot of protests back in the summer.
Okay.
I'm going to say that it was Americans exercising their right to protest. I may personally agree with one group and not the other, but that doesn't mean the other group does not have the right to protest.
Okay.
In New York City and cities across America this summer, streets were shut down. Areas of Seattle were kicked out the cops. Bridges were blocked. Roads were blocked. I happen to have agreed with it at the time. I think there needed to be some change. I think you're looking at another group right now who are like, hey, this is our turn to protest. But even though they have nothing to fucking protest, that's what I don't fucking understand. Listen, they have a right to protest. It's America. I just don't understand why they feel compelled to put like 84 flags on the back of their pickup truck and then all drive on a highway to stop to close it down. What are they protesting?
I guess, another question is, I mean, to your point, if Trump wins the second term, he definitely will feel more emboldened to do whatever it is he pleases. How will that in turn trickle down to his supporters? How will his supporters feel? How will white supremacists feel? Will they? I mean, they've obviously been very vocal, especially the last few months. Does that get even worse?
Oh, I would imagine so. Biden 131, Trump 109.
I take it you're looking at Fox News, or is that Drudge Report?
I'm on Drudge Report.
You're on Drudge?
Because that's where I get my news. Anywhere that's also going, that not only will it show me the news, but it's also going to say that the Thailand porn ban prompts a backlash.
Well, I mean, did you expect anything less?
Oh, 61,000 children have been infected with COVID in this past week.
Brian, they don't have the receptors. How many times?
Not according to the Drudge Report.
So I do have a question. Getting back to the presidential campaign, they constantly refer to New Hampshire as a battleground state, but they have.
Why?
Well, that's my question. It's a state with 4 electoral votes, and again,
you and I have 3.
I guess in a way, it's they say that it's a battleground because it's always close, but if it's only 4 electoral votes. Is it any different than Idaho with 4 electoral votes?
Washington D.C. with 3.
Right, Montana with 3, Delaware with 3,
Scott's mother with 2.
But again, I mean, just because a race is close consistently between 2 parties in that state, I don't know that it necessarily counts.
It's not a battleground state. I'm sorry, it does not meet the Ron and Brian criteria for a battleground state. You need at least, what are we going to say, 10 electoral
really? I was
votes.
going to go 15, but I will acquiesce to 10.
Ron, we've always known that you have a higher standard.
Very true.
You are bougie, I am trash. 15, 10 battlegrounds.
Fox News now calling the state of Utah for Donald Trump. So on their count, bringing Trump to 115 to Joe Biden's 129. If we can jump off of the election for a moment, you sent me a picture of some grape seed oil on a store shelf earlier today. Did you, in fact, purchase the grape seed oil?
Oh, I wouldn't even know when to use it. I don't know what grape seed is. And if you tell me it's the actual seeds taken out of a grape that have been pulverized to the point where an oil comes out, I will not believe you.
Okay, you don't have to believe me.
Is that literally what grapeseed oil is?
Why do you think they call it grapeseed oil?
I don't know.
Billy bringing up a good point, since you mentioned I have higher standards, a 51% to 49% higher standard. Always counting on Billy to bring a good 51%, 49% reference there.
It was inevitable.
I don't know what to say. I'm actually somewhat shocked at some of these results so far, because what we had heard throughout the entire election process, was that the polls had removed some of their standards that they used in 2016 that led to them really getting the numbers wrong and not seeing that Hillary was going to lose like she did. That there were fewer undecided voters in 2020 than there were in 2016, so that favored Joe Biden. Like there were so many stories about how 2020 was going to be different than 2016. But from what we're seeing, again, I mean, there are still a lot of votes to be counted. There are still a number of states to be decided. But at the end of the day, whether
are we talking battleground states?
I'm talking overall election. I'm talking overall, even with the popular vote. If you look at the popular vote right now, Donald Trump is up by 2.1 million votes. And again, that may or may not hold, but even 538.com had Joe Biden at a 99% probability to win the popular vote. They did win the popular vote and lose the electoral college. That was definitely in play. But again, I think at the end of the day, whether Biden ends up winning or Trump ends up winning, we again are seeing that polls for the most part are shit these days, because either they're not talking to the right people. People are, especially Trump supporters are hesitant, they say, to admit that they support the president because of potential backlash.
I see a lot of people who are Trump supporters and quite open about it.
Listen, there definitely is a percentage of people that are very vocal about it, but you do have people that are concerned about it. And I think is what we're really seeing tonight.
Biden 135, Trump 115.
Is that you're back on Drudge again?
I can't get off it. I'm hooked. However, they do have an article that Philly results unlikely tonight.
Really?
Twitter user Holly Otterbein, and I'm sure you know who she is. Philadelphia officials say they will not be reporting any more mail ballot results tonight. About 76,000 have been tallied so far out of 350,000. So that's not even a fifth of received. And remember, Biden supporters are disproportionately voting by mail. Don't give up Pennsylvania.
Let's see where we got Pennsylvania at on the most recent count. So in looking, come on, why does this pop-up work? All right, so in Pennsylvania,
it happens.
We've got about 140,000 vote differential. And so you're saying there's about 250,000 votes in Philadelphia left to be counted. So yeah, easily could make up that gap.
Yeah.
And I understand Pittsburgh votes are slow to come in for some reason tonight as well. So that's probably why we're not seeing too much. Ohio, again, we got 74% in Ohio, 240,000 vote differential favoring Donald Trump. Important to note that no Republican has won the White House without winning Ohio, but Trump appears to have come back from a very early big deficit to potentially win there. Michigan, very surprising as well. Trump up by almost 250,000 votes there.
I was not prepared for that number.
Wisconsin, Trump up by 23,000. Minnesota, Minnesota, we've got Biden up by about 290,000 votes with 38% of the count in.
All right. I'm not feeling well.
It definitely will be a very uneasy evening. But again, I think we very potentially will not know until, I'm going to say Friday, potentially, who the winner is, because you have you've got a lot of votes left to be counted. And I think you do definitely have some of these states where the vote is going to be close enough to potentially trigger some recounts.
Yeah. But what is the likelihood of a recount changing the results?
You never know. Again, it all depends on, what the Democratic Party needs to be prepared to do is the same thing that Trump was prepared to do. Is if you feel you've got a close race in a certain state and going to court is potentially going to help your situation, you need to be prepared to do that. Because again, we see it time and time again where not just Trump, but the entire Republican Party is willing to, play fast and loose with the rules to try and win. And the Democrats try and take the high ground. And that's why they get sand kicked in their face all the time.
I've said it to anybody willing to listen. The Republicans and the Democrats are playing two different games. The Republicans are playing the game called win at all costs by any means available. Democrats are trying to win by taking the high road, and they've gotten their ass handed to them for the past 40 years.
And it does not appear to be changing tonight.
No, it just keeps getting worse.
And again, I don't want to be
the gloomy Gus.
I don't want to be too analytical, but as you look at the map as it continues to shake out, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. The path for Biden that looked very direct earlier on. You had people that were talking, 300 electoral, 350, 400 electoral votes for Biden. This could easily come down to a tie, which again benefits Biden because the House would then determine who wins then.
It goes to the courts.
Well, I think if it's that close, obviously Trump's going to take it to the courts. The Democrats are going to take it to the House. Again, as far as the country goes,
Dr. J will take it to the hoop.
As far as the country goes, I can't think of a worst case scenario than what is shaping up right now.
Whatever. What do we do? What do we do, Ron? Now, more importantly, how does this affect the podcast?
I think if nothing else, it gives us something else to bitch about for the next 4 years, because that's really been our bread and butter for the first two, was really complaining about the state of our country.
Yeah.
And so I feel, if it gives us, we had discussed this a few weeks back. If Biden wins the presidency, what do we talk about for, an hour and 15 minutes every week?
We talk about Kamala.
Kamala. Don't mispronounce your name.
Kamala. No, that's Donald Trump pronouncing her name.
Jaina. Very disappointed in NewJersey.com not keeping up on the vote count for the legalization of marijuana. I think we're all going to need that. I think we're all going to need to hop on a train, and we're all going to need to go to New Jersey and get some weed.
Now, I'm not saying that I'm asking one of our loyal listeners to be a courier,
a mule, if you will.
But our listener Billy does live in New Jersey.
Ah, there you go.
So I imagine that he would have better access to information than you or I would.
He might be able to get some information. Let's hope he get versus the sarcastic comments like his just now. As long as Ron doesn't have a job and Brian has the antibodies, we have stuff to talk about. Really, you went with Brian's antibodies and not the fact that he spent $900 at the strip club, because that would have been the one I went with.
What I think is actually more interesting as a wager. What will happen first? I lose the antibodies, or Ron gets a job.
It's a good question. See, I was more going the angle that you could potentially lose. You will eventually lose the antibodies, is my belief, but you will never get that $900 back from that stripper.
I will never. And it pretty much went to one, if I remember correctly.
She must have been talented. That's all I'm saying.
I was just drunk.
It happens. It happens to the best of us. What else can we talk about, Brian? We've got about 10 minutes left here. Obviously nothing is going to be resolved. What was interesting, I don't know if you saw some of the exit polls from asking people why they voted for the candidate that they did, but the difference between the Trump voters and the Biden voters, while we know are there, were even more evident in the exit polls. If you look at the two biggest reasons people were supporting Joe Biden, the biggest thing was due to the racial inequality in this country, 36%, and then the coronavirus came in second at 28%. When you put that and talk to the Trump people, those two items were the least. Coronavirus was 5%, racial inequality was 3%. They were more concerned with economy and the jobs. So, what we are seeing, again, we know about this split in the country, and it's even more evident looking at what we have here happening tonight.
What I don't understand, I live in New York. It is how do I say this? It is an East Coast elite town. Granted. What I don't understand is how people are denying that the coronavirus pandemic is not a real threat to the American way of life.
And again, you look at the states, in that are going red, and they are, states that,
are outrageously high rates right now. We're going through a third wave.
Florida, Texas, the numbers in the Dakotas are higher than they were percentage-wise in areas like New York City.
Yeah.
And yet they are both going solidly Trump. And I don't know, it really feels like we are a country of people that don't know what's best for ourselves.
Can we separate without actually having a civil war?
I mean, if
excuse me, a velvet revolution, if you would.
I mean, if I'm a state like, let's take New York, for example. If I'm a state like New York and I'm in the top 5 of states that give more money to the federal government,
tax revenue,
versus a state like Kentucky, which is consistently in the bottom 5.
Taking.
If I'm New York, why don't I say after this, you know what? We're not going to give the federal government. Obviously, we have a president that doesn't want to support blue states. So if I'm
Correct.
Colorado, if I'm New York, why am I not just holding that money and keeping it from going to the federal government and just use it for my own state?
Why don't we?
If the president only wants to
represent his states,
represent states that voted for him, then let him find the funding somewhere else than the blue states that he basically said, hey, if people die in these blue states, like Jared Kushner said, it's not our problem if blue state people die.
Oh, I can't imagine 4 more years, Ron. I feel like my brain is breaking.
Again, I keep saying it. I had hoped that we would be pleasantly surprised and would have had some better early responses.
But it's not over. It's not over yet, correct?
No, it's not over. But my hope was that the turnout at the polls would have been so heavily blue that we wouldn't be at this point where we're going to be waiting for the next couple of days for the mail votes to catch up with the actual polls. So I mean, again, we are seeing the red wave, the red mirage, I think people were calling it, on election night. And now we need to wait, and we need to hope that the votes that are waiting to be tallied are enough to offset in enough states to swing things in Joe Biden's favor.
All right.
Listen, at the end of the day, this country gets the government that it deserves. And I think most states have set records in numbers of people coming out to vote. So yes. if you can have that many more people come out to vote in 2020 than voted in 2016, and we still end up with the same result, then maybe we aren't the country we think we are.
Well, we know we are. We're a shit show. We thought
Maybe
that we
we're
would be
even
a little bit better.
Than we were even concerned about.
We thought we were going to be better. We thought America was actually better than it really is. Oh, if we could get the Senate, I think we'd be in good shape, even with Trump as president.
Senate-wise, yeah. I mean, I would, and if anything, we have to have the Senate, because obviously we have seen that just having the House, while it helps
nothing, feckless.
But at the end of the day, if you don't have the White House, you don't have the Supreme Court, and you don't have the Senate.
Correct.
Can't even imagine what the next 4 years would shake out to be.
I fucking hate this. I really do. I really thought that we were going to have good news today. I didn't think it was going to be a blowout where you and I would be like popping champagne. Cristal, if you would. Yes, I do have a bottle chilling in my refrigerator right now. But God damn it.
Well, listen, I want some updates on some Senate races.
Yeah, come on, let me have them.
I mean, Arizona right now, Captain Mark Kelly still leading incumbent Martin McSally. I think there's still a very good possibility that we will see a pickup there. New Mexico, Democrat is leading by about 5 points there. So, again, I think, the challenge is if Biden doesn't win the presidency, we need 4 seats versus 3 in the Senate. And I think it's a very strong possibility that the Republicans, get the 3 seats.
What are the states? What states are these are the contested seats in?
I think, we've got Colorado, so we've picked up one there. I think Arizona is one we can pick up. Where else were we looking? I think Iowa is one that will get a pickup. Joni Ernst is behind by almost 100,000 votes right now, with almost half the vote count. So, right there, I think you've got 3. People had looked towards Kentucky as potential. Obviously,
not happening.
It isn't happening. If we look at Maine, Susan Collins was considered very vulnerable. With 15% of the vote in, she's up by about 24,000 votes. So again,
she's going to get that.
Not out of the woods, but obviously you want to be in the lead.
Unlikely.
And you catch up. If we look at South Carolina, again, Lindsey Graham was considered very vulnerable, but with 56% of the vote in, he is now leading by almost 200,000 votes. So I would imagine that they will be calling that race relatively soon. They had hoped to maybe pick up a seat in Georgia. Purdue is coasting to a win over Ossoff. He's up by about 430,000 votes in the Senate special election. As expected, the Republican candidates Loeffler and Collins are splitting the vote. So the Democrat is up by about 14,000 votes. But I think if no one gets a certain percentage, that will go to a runoff in December. So, having a 50-50 split in the Senate does not mean anything, obviously, if the vice president can
break any ties. Yeah,
if that VP is still Mike Pence.
All right.
Sorry, just finished.
All right, you know what?
Finishing my whiskey there. Yes.
I am not going to panic.
Okay, good.
I'm going to say this. We survived one term with Donald Trump. We will survive another one. Not all of us. We lost 200,000 due to COVID. Some of us will die. But as a country, our spirit will live on.
I don't know if I believe that anymore.
Ron, I can't have you negative. I cannot live if you're negative. I cannot be up if you are down.
This very well could be the last election in American history.
Oh, fuck. You don't actually believe that, do you?
I don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore, Brian. Think about what we've seen in the last 4 years. Would anything surprise you in the next 4?
I don't know. I don't know. But you know what? It's going to be interesting to watch.
Well, it'll be fun to be along for the ride if that's the case.
It is Tuesday. It is election night. For those that have sat there and thinking that this is going to be it, no, we're going to be back on Thursday.
Oh, that's right. Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully, we will have a clearer picture as to what's going on.
Yes.
In the country then.
Hopefully, I'll have come to terms with whatever it is.
I don't think you will, but I can always hold out hope.
Hopefully, I don't turn to drinking heavily.
Well, you know you're going to do that. Just stay away from the crystal meth.
Never touched it.
All right. Well, keep it up.
Thank you.
So let's see here. Oh, Fox is obviously already giving California and Oregon to Joe. So that puts him at 5 to 119. But yeah, I mean, again, it's ridiculous how it always comes down to, Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Even North Carolina is a bit of a surprise. Arizona though, leaning towards Joe, 54% to 45%. Nevada anticipated will go to Joe. So I've been drinking whiskey and I can't exactly do the math right now.
You don't have to,
but it's gonna be something the rest of this week. Billy bringing up a good point about all those dead Americans. Brian won't pick the majority of them in the death pool.
Serve that one.
So
hey, I got Eddie Van Halen.
You got one.
Shove that right up your ass. Eddie Van Halen. I knew that kid was going down. 39 points? Was that 39?
35 points. He was 65, I believe.
I'll take it.
So not too bad. Anything else tonight, Brian?
This has not been the tone I was looking for. But I'm glad that we did the show at 10 o'clock and not at 9. I want to thank everybody that joined us. We will be back on Thursday at the regular time, 8 o'clock, after dark at 9:30 for those Patreon subscribers. I want to say maybe we do the suits a little bit more often. I love looking at you dressed up like that. And let's survive tonight.
It's been a while since I had to put a suit on, so.
Feels good, right?
Felt good to be back in the game.
Yeah!
All right, everybody. Have as good a night as possible. Stay strong, and we'll get through this, whatever this is.